So now we do something a little bit different. Usually I walk you through how to do something exactly, but just to save a little bit of time, I set up a very simple thing here. So just follow along. I made a box. I made it bigger. I used the same box and I made a propellery thing here on top. So here's our cute little helicopter in a very abstract way. Box with a spinning thing on top. I turned them into two pieces, two packed things. I just made a line between them in the most difficult way possible. But you know, it's a constraint that stores the names, the usual. I condensed it down to a point in the way that we had just done, and then I wrote that it is an axis. Constraint name is axis. Constraint type is all. So nothing we haven't done before, just faster than we've done before. Also set up a very basic simulation setup. Don't even need that. Where I just brought the objects in, nothing crazy. This doesn't even need to be on. All it is two pieces that I have given some initial angular velocity to. I said spin them around the y-axis 90 degrees. Boom. So there you go. So the first frame, it just has not velocity like go up, 90 units a second, which is what, that would do. Just start where you are, spin 90 per second, and there you go. It falls and lands on the ground. Great. So what reason why I have brought you here is this. I'm going to make a cone constraint this time. Cone twist constraint relationship. So I typed it in, cone twist constraint relationship. There it is. This is the one that we asked for. We just called it axis this time for some reason. So I just wanted to show you, without all the complexity of the helicopter, what it is like to use one of these. In our case, or at least for what we're using it for, all I want it to do is just to be a rod that this thing is mounted on. So you can see, I have it set up now. And if I press play, there you go. It keeps spinning. See, it's like it's on a greased ball bearing twist thing. I'm not doing that. It's just the original momentum. In fact, if I were to remove that initial movement, it would fall and it would kind of just hang out. But because I said, hey, spin, and there's no drag to stop it, there's no air resistance in our sim here, so it just keeps kind of spinning, which is nice. Also, I'm just going to turn this clock thing on so it does it in real time. Cool. So now that we've established what it is and what it looks like, this little red line here, the guide, is actually pretty helpful. You can specify, you can do lots of things with this. For example, you can make this like a door hinge where the max twist here is 0. So now it won't twist. I could say only twist a certain amount and watch what happens. It'll hit it and it'll stop. And it kind of bent back the other way a little bit, actually. Boonk. Which is cool. If you get it to 180, or if you get close to 180, you still have a lot of range of movement. Donk. But if you get to 180, it's allowed to spin forever, which is what we want. So that's why it's going to be set to 180. Another thing you can do is there's this idea of the max up rotation, which is this way. See how it's a plane, essentially, like that? Now it can move along that plane. So it could spin and it could fall along that plane. Actually, in fact, if I take the twist out, it'll be more likely to fall. See? So now this is like a hinge. So even though it's called cone twist, and you're like, why would I ever use a cone twist? It actually does a lot of things. It does a hinge thing, it does a twist thing, and it's called cone twist because you can also have it move along this plane instead. And if you give it two planes, it makes a cone. And that's why it's called that. So it's allowed to move this far in this direction. It's like a little mouth. Wah, wah. and it's allowed to move this direction. So together we get this conical movement that's often used actually for ragdolls, where like this might be like a shoulder joint or something like that. Yeah. So that's the thrust of it, really. It's very stable. You can do lots of cool stuff with it. Like if I threw it to the side like that, it's super stable. It's cool. It's still doing the collisions, as you can see. You can tell it not to if you don't want to. If you're confident that the cone itself will essentially act as the collision, you can turn that off. So you can see it still kind of looks like it's colliding. I can make the cone thing tighter up here. I can make this like that. So now, the cone will catch it before it even hits the thing here. So now it's not even doing collisions. It's just the constraint that's making it look like it is. I'm going to keep this on though. Actually, no, I will keep it on. So for our purposes, we don't even need this part. So I turned this off. I turned this off. I'm turning this on. And now it's doing the spin thing that I want. And the default settings here are worth looking at too. All of these things, just like any other constraint, you can override any of these things from the constraints primitive. So like the goal twist axis right now is pointing to the side over here, which is not as useful to us, but there it is. It's rotating around this thing, and it's not colliding again because we told it not to. We can, if it makes it easier to understand, there it is back on again. Cool. But for us, of course, we don't want it to rotate on the side. We want it to rotate around the straight up and down. So we just simply set this to up. The goal up axis has to be perpendicular to the goal twist. So just set it to anything else that's perpendicular. The constrained twist axis, same thing. Just make them match. And now we see we have the pole just sticking straight up. And this is how we're going to get our helicopter blades to continue spinning, if even only for a few frames before they get destroyed. This is how we're going to have that happen. Instead of which right now, when they are just, freezing, see how they're just stuck here because they're glued. I want them to spin as long as they can. So that'll be a nice little touch. This is like a, kind of maybe a little bit super advanced thing that many people might not even do, but it'll be a lot of those nice little touches that will make it look cooler. So there's our cool helicopter. Great.